seated or standing from our iconic foreshore. Best viewing is between the children's playground and the dome. We encourage you to take photos of the event, and please remember this is an alcohol and smoke-free event. Don't forget to take home with you the full festival program available from the Stretch Information Tent. We invite you to explore and engage with your festival over the next 2 weeks and immerse yourself in various arts events happening citywide. Franklin Nana will now give the welcome to country for the 2014 Stretch Festival opening, dance, fire and drifting.
Mandurah, Mandurah, Bidida, Maman, Koya, Manja Bay, Koya, Manja Goda, Mandurah Puja, Koya. That means I'm Clisson, I'm the Mandurah tribe, I'm a man from this area. Welcome to this area, Manja Bay, in Mandurah, which is Mandurah, in Mandurah Puja, which is Mandurah country.
Mandurah Puja, Mandurah Puja, Mandurah Puja, Mandurah Puja, Gabi. Mandurah Nija, Chinangin Bala, Pula Bala Nija. Mudan, 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 mudan. The Mandurah Bay is an important part of what many people, and especially Noongar people, see as a place to go as families, and you can swim there, you can go crabbing there, you can just sit down and relax there and do what families do, be a family. But if you look at it from the way we look at it from a traditional point of view, then it is a place that's been created by the Woggle, and that's our spiritual beliefs, to do with the creation beliefs. And so there's a spiritual value at this location. And that's my first way of saying, this place that we sit, this place that we stand, this place that we play, we call it Jerusalem, but the spiritual value there is that it belongs to everyone, because that's what the law says, that we've got to look after it, we as in everyone. And that's been the thing said and acted on for many thousands and thousands of years, to look after the waterways and look after families. And that's essentially the wonderful meaning about people gathering at this place, Mandurah Bay, that we can all acknowledge that Noongar people have looked after this place for thousands of years, and we should continue, all of us, to look after this place for the next thousands of years.
Mandurah in the 50s was a childhood's dream. It was Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn. We'd explore. We could go crabbing when we were little kids and as we got older, but the crabs were plentiful, the fish were plentiful. We could put out a little bit of net. You'd run some net around in the shallow waters around some fish. And there were enough fish then so that you knew the fisheries inspector wasn't going to be around. You could, if you're a little kid, you could get a few what they call cackers, which are below size.
Skipping is very good fun. When I say that, it's because, you know, these crabs are feisty little buggers. And when they spot you, all they want to do is just fight you. You know? And they really do. They rear back on their back legs, their nippers come up, and they just want to have a go at you. So it's good fun. Of course, we're walking through these shallows and stand on the crab. It's really quite fun.
Actually, that was the last time we went crabbing, and they put Lily in the bucket. And yeah, Evie has a tendency to freeze and scream. they put Lily in the bucket, and then they had another bucket for the crabs. So, and then something happened, and Lily's gone overboard with the crabs, and Evie's next door.
Right, these are going to take a little
right next to it where it happened, so the crabs have come out and they're swimming around Evie, and Evie's just stood there again going doing this little crab dodge dance.
Well, as you probably realise, for a lot of most the water's always been shallow, and even in those days it was shallow, very close to the shore. So, you know, when the tides changed, you could walk out a long way without getting your feet wet. So, yeah, no, she was never really concerned. She was probably more concerned with the isolation for us, but, you know, that's expected. Because when we came to Mandurah, of course, the Gold Coast Road was a winding dirt track.
So he took us crabbing one night, and so we were all sitting just up at the old bridge in a boat. Gordy, his wife, and the three girls. We were so uninterested in crabbing. I remember the moon was rising. It was just one of those perfect nights, and the gentle lapping of the water against the bridge. And at Delhi that day, we found a new lolly, and it had just been introduced, and it was called Pop Rocks. And today it's called Popping Candy. And everybody had to have Pop Rocks, so we went and spent all our pocket money on these packets of Pop Rocks. So we're sitting at one end of the small trough with Pinky, and Dad's at the other end with Mum. So we're stuffing Pop Rocks in our mouth and opening our mouths just to hear that fantastic popping. And it took a while for Dad to work out what it was, and then we got into so much trouble because he thought we were scaring the prawns away. So then, of course, we got into trouble. He said, "You can't have the Pop Rock, stop, don't eat it." And so then we were secretly putting it in our mouths, and then of course we were giggling our heads off, and then he thought the giggles were scaring the prawns away. Needless to say, there were no prawns that night. The water's been there through thick and thin, hasn't it? The estuary.
It's just like you go there and you're just lying there floating on the water, and you're just like imagining what it was like there a few years ago, bushland around there. The waterway was a lot fresher and cleaner. No cars, no houses, no buildings around there, just a few sticks and twigs and bushes around, and little shelters on the shoreline with many burnt out fires. If I'm just quiet enough, I can imagine it and feel it. That's what the waterway and the water means to me.
teacher who was teaching some students at risk, and they used to go fishing under the old bridge as part of their course. And the kids were talking about dolphins one day, and this particular teacher said, if you just put your hand on the top of the water, just like this, and he lay on the deck there, and he put his hand on top of the water and he tapped the water. He said, if you just tap the top of the water like this, the dolphins will come. Of course, speaking absolute sophistry. So all the kids are lying there, tapping the top of the water, and sure enough, this dolphin pops up. And so they called him the dolphin whisperer for a very long time after that, and no one was more shocked than he was.
So plentiful. I can still remember going out at night with him, and they'd set the net, what they call setting the net, and they'd then wait for fish to come in, and about 12 o'clock you'd go out and pull the net in, and there'd be mullet and pilchard and cobbler. In those days even flounder, because at that stage there wasn't the algae that later eventuated in the late 50s and early 60s. So it was a beautiful sandy bottom, and when we were kids we'd go swimming in the Peel Inlet, and the foreshore was white sand, and so was the balance of the land, into the water. So you had it was almost the same quality as the ocean. It was just magnificent. Fridays, the fishermen would come to Mandurah with their fish, because the fish truck would go to Fremantle. Scott's Transport would take the fish to Fremantle, and the fishermen would bring the fish in and probably loiter. But I got a feeling that the fishing was closed to all fishermen on Fridays, certainly on Friday afternoon. So they'd be around Mandurah, they'd head to the Brighton Hotel, some of them.
a friend had a houseboat. So we bring our boat and just anchor in there next to the pen. And they had Paul Kelly came one night. So we were about 20 of us on top of this boat house. We didn't pay to go to the concert. We just listened outside. And then when we wanted a drink, the guys would put us on their shoulders and walk us in to the not the jet, the wharf or the pen. So it was really good memories. He wouldn't be glad to put me on his shoulders now, like 20 years ago, I think I was 20 kilos less.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But there's no way I was going to walk from the boat over to the pen because all I could think about was those crabs, and you know how much I was scared of crabs.
I hadn't actually been in Australia for a whole lot of time at that stage, so it was only just through talking to other people that work and asking, what are you doing? I said, oh, we're going down to Mandurah. Where's Mandurah? What do you do down there? And they said, we catch crabs. So I thought, oh yeah, well that sounds like me. So I then thought, well, I'll come down here and just see what it's all about. And I watched people, and they had these big sticks with a net on the end of it, so I thought, well, I better get myself one of them, because I'd never even seen a bush work on a crab before. So I got myself a scoop net, and the following week I was down pulling a little bucket behind me on a string like everyone else was doing. And of course that was something that I used to take a lot of pleasure in. And then when Barb and I started to go out, and I said, well, what are we doing Sunday morning? He said, well, we're going down to Mandurah. What are we going down to Mandurah for? To catch some crabs. And so that's when we ended up.
I'll never forget the first time I was pregnant, another time when I was pregnant, and we're in the boat crabbing and we're going to go check the crab nets, and Brett's like, oh, there's a crab, and jumps in, like off the boat after a crab. It's like, where did he go? I got it! It was so funny. That was so funny. Like, I'm married to the most keen fisherman, I think, in Mandurah.
First time we came to Mandurah, I think it might have been Easter. It was in the late 70s, and we thought we were lost coming along the old Mandurah road that went past all the salt lakes, and it was a bit like, we're there yet? There was Mum, Dad, 3 girls in the back of the car, and an old silver tin caravan, and we stayed at the caravan park that is now on the western, what is now the western foreshore, where the skate park is. And I remember coming 3 or 4 times in that year with a group of mum and dad's friends. They thought they'd found paradise. And I remember they used to set up their folding chairs in the water and sit there with their feet in the water, their newspapers or their books on their lap, and the beer in the water keeping cold, and they just sit there all afternoon under the shade of those trees getting their feet wet and enjoying it. As kids, we just used to be let loose at the beginning of the day, running around in our bathers, and then come home at the sunset just playing all along the shore there. And when we were hungry, coming in, getting some money from mum and running across the old bridge to the deli that was on the corner there, and it smelled like sugar, that deli, and always was making milkshakes, all the surfing boys, who we used to just stand in awe of because they just looked so cool. I was probably about 12 or 13.
Spend more weekends down here at that stage. But I both ran a business in Perth and we would just come down for long weekends. And it was one of those things that started off that we worked really hard on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. Maybe we would get away about lunchtime on Friday to come down to the hideaway down here. In advance suggested that we really put a big effort on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Maybe we could leave on a Thursday night. It's been the long weekend. Then you got to